Another conversation I want to start. And I brought up the Vogelbach thing. I talked about Gleyber Torres, talked about Castro. What the hell? What the hell? The one player that they got in return for those high-value caliber guys was Aroldis Chapman. That was it. And Mike Montgomery. Okay? Mike Montgomery is pretty decent. Only because he's controlled till like 2019 or 2020, something like that. That, like, I figured that with all of this value stored in the system, that they would be able to get a better return than what we've seen. They gave Castro away for nothing. And you could argue that his value was diminished, but he's still cost control 26, 27 years. He has tons of major league experience, and there's flaws in his game. Yeah, he's probably a 270 hitter, 260 hitter now who doesn't walk or strikes out a lot. So what? So what? I thought the value for Castro would be more than a guy that they DFA'd and then they traded back. What I want to talk about here is with Theo Epstein. This is weird for me because I love Epstein. I love what he's done. Epstein signed with the Cubs in the offseason after the 2011 season. So 2012 was his first year. We knew what we were getting into. We understood as Cub fans that the Chicago Cubs were not going to be competitive for a couple years at least, only because of how decimated this franchise had become. Really, they had no prospects at the time. Tyler Colvin was one of their top prospects. Starlin Castro was still considered a prospect, despite the fact that he made his debut the year before. It's just with Epstein, and I hate to question Epstein, but you look back, and yeah, he's fantastic in rebuilding an organization, replenishing the farm system, making the correct draft picks. Just overall, he's a smart guy. He knows how to build an organization to the top. We saw it in Boston, but really in Boston, he walked into a situation where they were ready to win. Epstein broke the curse. That's fantastic. But when the pressure was on and the Red Sox were good, they were maintaining their competitive streak, and they were going for another World Series. Epstein goes out and makes these big free agent signings, like Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford, that really handcuffed the Red Sox for a few years after the fact. What I'm saying is, am I wrong to think that Epstein can't make the right moves when the Cubs are ready to win? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's all nice and safe building a team when they're bad because he has a good feel and he has room for error then, but now he has to hit on these moves. He has to. Right now is the best chance for the Chicago Cubs to win a World Series probably ever. Right now, with their rotation, their lineup, even without Schwarber, their bullpen now with Chapman, this is the time to win. Arrieta's going to be gone most likely, in my opinion. That's a different conversation, but he's got this year and next year under arbitration, and then he's a free agent. And I wouldn't pay him. He's gonna be asking for like 8 years, $215 million at least. So look, right now, Epstein, what you got for me? What you got? Whatever you feel morally about this man, well, we got him, and he's gonna help us win a World Series. So what I'm getting at is, can Theo Epstein make the right decisions when the pressure's on, when they're ready to win? Because let's not forget, and no general manager and team president is perfect, but we often look at Theo Epstein as this saint who doesn't make mistakes or doesn't do anything wrong. He's just, everything is great and happy. And no, really, he's made a few bad decisions in terms of player personnel. We can go back to the Ian Stewart trade in which they gave up Tyler Colvin. Who cares about Tyler Colvin? But Gold Glove and solid second baseman DJ LeMahieu. You remember that one? Ian Stewart, let's talk about Ian Stewart real quick. Do you remember this? His fallout with the front office? He barely played with the Cubs. And it was awful when he did. And especially in his second year. That was just a disaster. That was a disaster. He was hurt for all of his first season, came back the next season, got hurt again, and when he was ready to come back up, he was eligible to be reinstated to the big league club. They didn't bring him up because he was awful. He was hitting like 110 or something terrible in AAA. So Epstein's like, no, I'm keeping you down. And Ian Stewart bashes him, and then eventually he gets released. So one example. Also, Edwin Jackson, of whom the Cubs are still paying that contract. This is a final year, but still paying for it. Also, they kind of gave away Wellington Castillo for like nothing. Wellington Castillo, and you look at the catching situation now, they traded him for Miguel Montero. Yeah, you see the decline in Montero's game, and I can't question Montero's value because he brings so much to the table. Except offensively this year, it's a glaring issue. Wellington Castillo's, and I knew this as soon as they got rid of him. I knew Castillo would develop into the type of player that he is today because we saw him. He was developed throughout the Chicago Cubs system, and then they just got rid of him for a veteran catcher. So don't let Theo off the hook here. I mean, he's as many of the good things that he's done, especially, oh boy, there's a lot of good things. Believe me, I'm a big Epstein fan. Don't get me wrong, but we can't just put this guy on a pedestal, especially after what went down with this Chapman trade that kind of goes against what the Cubs are building in terms of culture and character. All of a sudden, yeah, he's doing what he believes he has to do to win a World Series. Isn't that the ultimate goal? But kind of sold his soul to do it. Losing out on Gleyber Torres for a rental Chapman with a history of domestic violence, I don't agree with it. And I hate to question you, my man, but it's just not what I thought would happen.